Based off of the Game FAQ's Best Game Ever polls, the best decade in gaming would be the 1990s. But see, my opinion goes against that of the consensus. I believe that the 2000s have been the best decade for gaming. Now, with 5 years of hindsight to it, there were some rather bad games developed in the time. The same thing occurred with the 90s. Anyone remember Dudes with Attitude? I have this idea about proportionality, and so far it has been true. Anime is where my example will be. The more that is made in a given season, the better the average show is. Well, no. The average show isn't better, but there are more good shows, and the amount of bad shows stays at almost the same rate. So, once the 2000s rolled around, we got this large increase in the amount of people that were able to develop games in comparison to that of the 1990s. So we got all of these amazing games. So I'll just give some comparisons. 1999. Last year of the 90s. Arguably one of the best years in PC gaming. System Shock 2, original Baldur's Gate. Let's compare that to 2000. The 2000s. See, in the 2000s, Baldur's Gate 2 and Deus Ex were released, right? As well as Counter-Strike 1.6 and Civilization 3. These games are are heralded as icons of PC gaming. It's amazing. Whereas, in comparison, System Shock 2 is highly regarded as one of the best PC games of all time. And it doesn't even compare to 2000 and 2001 alone. So, 1995 was a great year. Not a ton of notable games from that year, but then again, we gained Chrono Trigger, I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, and Clock Tower, which are all amazing, but when we compare those to Oblivion, Psychonauts, and Amnesia the Dark Descent, they don't really compare. See, these games may be good, and there's not many people that would compare any of those games that I just mentioned to Chrono Trigger in the amount of significance that they've had on gaming history. But I believe that they're very impactful, memorable. But then, so why do I think there is this disparity, right? Quality of game versus games that people remember. Well, most gamers are currently in their mid-20s to early 30s, where they would have fond memories of games from 1997, and that's about the year that is considered the consensus best year in video games. But I'm a lot younger than the average gamer, and I have fond memories of the games from my childhood, though I didn't actually start gaming till slightly later on. I was about 12 or something when I started gaming. But I have great memories of my time with Morrowind and a love for Fable, and if I had to choose a console to play for the rest of my life, it'd be the Game Boy Advance SP. So I'm not saying that just all of the best games are PC games from the mid-2000s, but what I am saying is that the consensus may not be right. And, what would I know? I'm just a weirdo on the internet with a Patreon for you to support. Fick. Fick. Fick.